Guys, it's me, Petite Platypus, and I have a wild Genshin theory that seems to be more likely by the day. So, it happened a while back when I was just pondering over who the Heavenly Principles actually are. Then I remembered my two favourite Archons, Venti and Zhongli. And then I went down a little rabbit hole in my mind, and now I'm convinced that the Heavenly Principles is just a fusion of Venti and Zhongli. Because Zhongli, as we know, is a very, very old being. He's been an Archon for 5,000 years, which means he himself is way older than that. Furthermore, if you look at his arms, they are not human or normal arms. Now, if you look at every single one of the shades, they have human-like forms, however, their arms look weird. Like with Renova, it's the weird claw hands with the black arms. With Istaroth, similar thing. It's their arm starts going brown, then turns black down to their hands. And this continues with all the shades. Now, my boy Zhongli, of course, has inhuman arms, whatever you want to call them. Furthermore, he has connections to life and space. Life, because he literally made beings out of nothing, except for rock and having a spirit there to infuse it with, and he literally made a dragon. He turned a barren dead area and filled it with flowers at one part of the story, and amongst many other things. Also, his connections to space, because Geo is often in cube form, and the cubes are shown in the space, and also shown spaces, as we see in the latest teaser, The God's Limits, when they destroyed a space, and also many other times. Furthermore, with Zhongli, he has erosion. Essentially, his memories are going, as he forgets more and stuff like that. And his memories disappearing over the years. Now, you could say that's just because he's an old being, like with Daneself having a limit to his memory. But Zhongli's memories of certain things are still pretty good. Now, what I think that is that the Heavenly Principles are taking back over. They're awakening again, as they had been asleep for a while. But then you got Venti, with connections to time and death. Venti with death, he can help spirits pass on, amongst many other connections and portrayals shown. Also, his connection to time, of course, is that he's a creation of Istaroth. He's one of the Wisps of Thousand Winds, and he's used her abilities in Unawakened Dream. Then we also know that he drinks a lot, probably so that he forgets, probably to hold off the Heavenly Principles, or to forget things. Because yes, although his friend died, I doubt that'd be something to keep Venti down for so long. He's also a very secretive and sneaky person, so we can't actually trust him, although I do love my boy Venti. Going on with that, Piero said the gods were a he. Now, we know very, 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 very few beings that he that would have potential to become the Heavenly Principles. And knowing Genshin, they're doing something weird. Also, if Zhongli and Venti were the Heavenly Principles, say when the Heavenly Principles went to sleep, he was split into two people, each with differing personalities on polar opposites, to kind of encompass all of his self. Both very powerful beings. But then on top of that, the fact that nobody actually from the Shades has had any direct contact with Venti or Zhongli. All the other Archons have messed around with the Heavenly Principles or the notions of the Shade in some way. This means that the Shades don't really want to be involved with those two. Of course, why would you want to get involved with your boss? And they also didn't take notice of Frina, which likely means that they're not sure how the heavenly principles would respond, because of course they're asleep. Also, I believe that although they are Zhongli and Venti are separate people who want to defeat the heavenly principles, they disagree. Because of course, they passively helped the Syreeta by giving up their gnosis really easily. Venti put on a little act to make sure that he wasn't too sus, and Zhongli had a contract, which is a great excuse for him, seeing as the god of contracts and can't break it. And Paimon said, I can't imagine something that would hold value equal to a gnosis, because with contracts, both sides have to gain. And he says there aren't many things. But what if the value would be the defeat of the heavenly principles? Because, of course, the gnosis is the third descender split into many parts, and then using elemental connection and all that good stuff. And then the fact that both of those archons intentionally try to stop the Traveller from finding his sister. Venti, although he probably knows where she is, and literally has been in multiple timelines meeting her, so he definitely does, says that he doesn't know. And when they ask about Khaenri'ah, because that would help him, he says he also doesn't know, because that would also help them find him. And then we got Zhongli, who has a contract, again, to stop him from saying anything, and says he also doesn't know where Lumine is. All the other Archons don't have the capacity to know anything about her, except Nahida, who's the god of wisdom, so of course she'd know. But that begs the question, why would they not want the Traveller to find his sister? Because if the Traveller finds his sister, he would leave the world, and the Traveller, being a descender, is one of the few beings with the potential to defeat the heavenly principles. So if they wanted Aether to defeat them when they had to go back to being the heavenly principles, then they would try to stop him from leaving the world until after the event. Of course, I might have said some things that probably don't work, and there may be some inaccuracies, but that is my theory. The fact that Venti and Zhongli combined become the heavenly principles, and between them they cover all the aspects of the shades. They'd have authority over all the aspects to create them, and the fact that they're very secretive beings who seem to have something wrong with them, meaning that happens.